breakfast, and we are sending you and some mates to the movies. When I say we plus House & House, who are, again, presenting another edition of Dubai Eye 103.8's Movie Nights. The movie is the new Joker. The movie theatre is the Roxy Extreme. The date is the 14th of October, and the game we are playing is Name This Joker.
What is it they say? One day you're on top, the next you're a clown.
Right, there's a Joker for every day of the week. 5 in our particular pack. Name that Joker, 4001 0487 15500.
Business headlines on Dubai Eye 103.8.
With JAFSA, named top free zone for sustainability, non-fiscal incentives and industrial excellence at the FDI Global Free Zone of the Year Awards 2023.
Right, breaking news this morning. The UAE non-oil economy saw its weakest expansion in 3 years last month. It's according to the latest S&P Purchasing Managers Index, or PMI. The reading came in just under 54 points. The report highlighted a weaker upturn in new orders and soft job creation in the UAE.
Trading of Salik shares was briefly suspended after the company alerted the Dubai financial market to false stories on social media. The social media post related to dynamic pricing on Salik toll gates. The company called them inaccurate.
The UAE energy minister said the world would be in chaos without OPEC and its allies. Sahel Al-Mazroui told a conference in Fujairah that while OPEC Plus is not perfect, its sacrifice keeps the energy market in balance.
We've got Toyota investing another $500 million in the flying taxi company Joby and raising its stake.
OpenAI has closed a round of fundraising valuing the ChatGPT maker at $157 billion. Investors include Microsoft and Nvidia and the brother of the former White House aide Jared Kushner.
And staying with tech, shares of Tesla falling 4% overnight after the electric car maker reported weaker than expected sales.
Property Pulse.
With Espace Real Estate. Think Dubai Real Estate. Think Espace Real Estate.
Yeah, talking real estate this morning. Jake Matthews-Hubbard with us in the studio, Senior Client Manager Gold at Espace Real Estate. Morning, Jake.
Good morning.
Good to have you with us in the studio. Lots to discuss this morning, but just before we do, listeners will recognise the name if they're fans, as many are, of the TV show Dubai Hustle. Brandy's been DJ this morning. Brandy, can we have a quick blast of Jake in action on the telly?
That's the 10% check there, ready to go.
Is that going to close it? Yeah, it should. It should.
I hope it does. Where you at with your seller? There's history on this property, as we know, so you need to get this sorted.
Did they get it sorted, Jake?
You have to watch and find out.
Good to see you. Look, we're here to talk about real estate this morning. Let's start with Sheikh Hamdan, the Crown Prince of Dubai, because this week we had a number of announcements from him, including the Dubai 2033 real estate strategy. In simple terms, he wants $1 trillion dirhams worth of transactions in Dubai by 2033, which sounds like a lot, but I was looking at the numbers from the Land Department last year. We weren't that far off with 634 billion dirhams. What did you take away from the new strategy?
Yeah, of course, the objective of this is to build a better Dubai, right? And have a better attraction to invite more people here to grow the population. I think within our Q3 report that's coming out next week, we've seen a 44% increase year on year compared to the previous Q3.
44%?
In terms of transaction volume, and transaction value is up 30% as well. So the way things are going, if the population continues to grow and the demand is there, it is an objective that can be achieved.
Now, that's the Q3 Espace Real Estate report,
yep,
which isn't the market, but you are one of the major players, so it's
Indeed.
Probably fairly typical of the market. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I do believe so, and I think the trend of what we're seeing at the moment is I'm working with a lot more people moving here from Singapore, expats as well. I've had Americans, which is a surge I've seen over the last 6 months, French as well, and of course there's still the core nationalities looking in the market like British, Indians, etc.
Well, my learned friend Tom Urquhart is going to be asking you about specifically that question in about 10 minutes' time, international buyers moving into the UAE. But if we can stick for a minute with the D33 plan that His Highness Sheikh Hamdan announced just a couple of days ago, hitting that 1 trillion transaction mark, what needs to change to do that? Because Sheikh Hamdan said it's not just a number, it's not just a target. There's a strategy here, there's a plan. What do we need to do differently and better?
Yeah, I think sometimes we need to take a step back and realize Dubai is still a maturing real estate market. And I think if you look at the progression of AI, for example, how can AI impact the market? Because there's a misconception across the market that across any industry that AI is going to be replacing people. But I think if we can use it as a tool to perhaps provide more clarity, more transparency during the transaction, speed up the processes in different ways, I think that's where Dubai can really accelerate ahead of the rest of the world, as it has done over the last few years.
Well, I was seeing on your LinkedIn profile, actually, you're an investor in an AI company, aren't you?
Indeed, yeah. Kaizen AI.
Yeah, so how is AI going to help the real estate market?
I think, for example, often when you're buying a property or investing in a property, you want to make sure that you're getting it right. You're not getting conned, for example, or potentially losing out. So I think if there's ways where they can enhance data clarity on both sides, that's a fantastic way. And even going into a deeper sector of analysis, if you're renovating a property, can AI facilitate a renovation quote in the details of what you want, how it looks like? Potentially. We're very early days, but I think we have to frame it in a way that's how can AI assist the current processes? How can it improve? Not what can it replace, which is, again, sometimes the misconception.
One member of the Business Breakfast team is renovating a property at the moment. That's a whole different conversation, Jake. Come back for that one and the challenges with doing that. 3 words jumped out at me from Sheikh Hamdan's statement, and they were promote home ownership. Because the reality is that the vast majority of expatriates, certainly, who live here in Dubai, rent their home still, not buy. We had some data out from Better Homes 10 days ago that illustrated this. But we know that it's true, isn't it? It's expensive to buy a home in Dubai. Loan to value ratios when you get in a home loan or mortgage, if you can borrow 80%, you're doing well. That still means you need a 20% deposit plus the fees and everything else. It's not easy to get on the housing ladder. What can we do to help people get on the ladder in the first place?
Yeah, I think it's a continuing apparent comparison, right? The opportunity cost of renting a like-for-like property versus owning it is higher than ever. I mean, I'm looking, for example, I rent an Arjan, a 2-bed, and I'm paying $110,000 a year. If I got a mortgage for a similar 2-bed, I'm paying less than I would on my rent. So I think if you can make the saving in the short run and maybe make a few sacrifices here and there to get on the ladder, what you're going to gain in equity in the long run and saving on the rent is fantastic. And I think if Dubai continues to grow with these grand plans as well, there will be capital appreciation. There will be the ability to jump further on the property ladder as well in the future.
Well, what would be the equivalent of buying an apartment that's currently renting for 2-bed for just over 100,000 dirhams a year? Where can you buy an affordable property like that? You can't buy in Arjan necessarily, which is in the Barsha South area, but you can close by, can't you? You can buy Motor City, Al Qudra Corridor, Jumeirah Village. We've got a circle and a triangle. I don't know what else. Where would you be buying to have a 2-bed where your mortgage payments are going to be less than 110,000 a year?
Yeah, I think Arjan has the potential as well. JVC, there's always good developers there that can offer that. And I think as Dubai continues to expand further and further out, you look at options in Town Square as well. I think it's shifting how we as Dubai residents look at traffic. And if they continue to improve the roads as well, areas like Town Square, which some people say it's too far out to commute, well, if the roads improve and traffic eases, that becomes a lot more accessible and a good option as well.
Yeah, there's roadworks are coming to an end on that Al Qudra corridor at the moment. But we might have public transport there, because buried in this D33 plan that Sheikh Hamdan announced was another 3 words that jumped out on me: suspended transport system. We don't have much about it, but it's going to go from Al Khor to Zabil and up to Sakim Street. We haven't seen a map, but that could mean kind of Al Qudra corridor. I know Georgia on the agenda has got more on this and the details of this plan coming up after 10 o'clock this morning. But public transport into these newer areas of Dubai, from your experience, what impact would it have on real estate? We've got about 30 seconds on that.
I think it's exciting because what we're seeing is the suburbs in development. Dubai is very central. It's still growing and growing. If we can achieve a metro system that goes further and further out, that then becomes more accessible for people to buy further out, have that option to commute to work in a different way, ease on the roads as well. So I think it's, from a macro perspective, it helps Dubai, and a micro perspective, it will give more value in certain areas, more central locations could also increase in value from that as well.
Are we seeing that boost in value for being near a metro station as we do in other cities?
It's not something that comes up yet. People consider it, but a central location like the Lakes community, people aren't considering where the metro is because it's one of the quickest accessible communities in Dubai to Sheikh Zayed Road.
Jake, stick around because Tom's got lots more questions for you. If you've got any, do please send them in. The best way is WhatsApp 04871 5500. Jake Matthews-Hubbard of Espace Real
Dubai
Estate.
Eye 103.8 traffic.
With Yas Island Abu Dhabi, stay at iconic hotels and play at record-breaking theme parks. Book now on yasisland.com.
Yeah, I reckon there's a few people out there on the roads of the UAE who are considering where they're living at the moment, judging by the traffic on a Thursday morning. Lots of traffic for you on Sheikh Zayed Road, albeit it is moving, touch wood. A little bit of traffic for you on the E44. Well, little make it a lot, especially heading northbound. Dubai Hills into the Meydan, Al Shiba area, very busy indeed. Another accident for you, Al Barsha South on the Sukim Road. That's causing all sorts of issues in the turn-off towards the schools, etc. A little bit of traffic for you on Hesse Street. Not looking great on the E11 northbound. Jumeirah Lakes Towers all the way through the Marina area, heading up towards the Emirates Golf Club. Early tee off.
Dubai Eye 103.8 traffic.
More from Espace Real Estate in just a few moments.
Weather check.
With Air Arabia. Don't miss Air Arabia's biggest seat sale ever. 500,000.
Hubbard has stayed with us here. Senior Client Manager Gold at Espace Real Estate. Really appreciate your time. Thanks for being with us.
Pleasure.
Right, bit of a question and answer with you, if we may, because we've got loads of questions coming through from listeners at the moment. As I mentioned, keep them coming, 4001 if you want to have your say. But a question that we had was about sort of the end user product, if you like. A lot of people talk here, don't they? You know, around a brunch, around a dinner, around a lunch, whatever, around the old coffee machine or water cooler about their buying process and how the experience was, etc. Is it any different if you are an international investor as opposed to a UAE resident? Is it more difficult a process if you're an international investor to buy?
I think it depends. I mean, I look back at our last E50 Open House event, and I had 29 viewings in one day with 5 different clients, and 3 of them were actually moving to Dubai, and 2 families were from Singapore. And I see that as a fantastic opportunity to give them the knowledge and insight they need to make an informed decision. I think often they'll hear from friends that they have here already that, oh, this is a good community, this is why, this is where the good schools are, and they kind of go off of that. But when I do meet these clients, and we have another big open house event this Sunday as well, it is a fantastic opportunity to somewhat speed up the journey where we can see 10 properties at once. We can understand the different sizes you're looking for, the layouts that work for you, the view you're looking for. Do you want something that's standard or renovated? Do you want to go through the renovation process? What does that look like as well? So I think it is a case-by-case basis. I mean, I even had some clients that moved here from Switzerland. We were looking for over a year together to get it right. We probably viewed in every community across Dubai. So there is no right or wrong answer, but you have to tailor it based on what the client needs and what they're looking for.
I know what you mean, because I grew up in the UK. Many of our listeners may not. What's an open house?
Open house event is when you have a property that's pretty much viewable all day. So in our big E50 event this Sunday, we have over 200 properties available to view at once. So if you're looking in somewhere like the Lakes and Meadows, we can probably show you 10, 15 properties in the space of 2-3 hours. And we have this all across Dubai. So it's a fantastic event for us to really speed up that buyer journey and really speed up the information gap that we as agents need to close as soon as possible to help buyers make that informed decision.
Sounds a lot more efficient as well, especially given the number of inquiries you're getting. But then, as you've just hinted there, you know, there's a lot of word of mouth that goes round. Dini was talking about infrastructure with the traffic. You're there talking about the education infrastructure as well. What's going to suit me and my needs, etc. Again, going back to that international investors, in terms of sealing deals, does it take a little bit longer with an international client than it would somebody here?
You know, I had the same experience coming from London, purchasing a property, working at Deloitte in M&A. I'd say here the process is a lot smoother and it's easier. There's less paperwork to go through. It's all digital as well. And I think for some clients that are used to so much paperwork, they kind of look at the contract sometimes and think, is this it? Like, what's wrong? I don't feel protected. But then when we actually break down and go through the individual clauses and explain why this is in there to protect you, they have that understanding and trust that this is a very smooth process. And that's why you can get the keys in 8 to 12 weeks if you're brand new to Dubai, a mortgage buyer as well, with a mortgage seller, which is a fantastic smooth process compared to...
Don't want you to give away the tricks of the trade as well that have made you very personally successful in your career. But can brokers be too pushy with international investors?
So I take it back to the Switzerland clients I met. So I met them at an open house event in Arabian Ranches at 6 p.m. on a Saturday night. I thought I'd go and meet them. They inquired quite late. I met them, showed them around. It's clear that they liked the property and were very interested. But I said, you know, how long have you been in Dubai? They said, only a few days. We're moving everything over. I said, have you heard of other communities like Victory Heights, Arabian Ranches too? Have you considered that? They said, no. I said, okay, great. When are you next available? Let's go and view these communities and get an idea of what works for you. And they said to me, Jake, you're the first agent we've met today that hasn't asked us to make an offer. I said, how can you make an offer? We don't have the information to make an offer. Even if I could persuade you to make an offer, there's going to come a point where you start questioning things, and that's not the right way to run the process. And that's what we do at SPAS. We help you guide through that process, of course.
There you go, kids. That's how you turn silver into gold with Jake as well. But before we do that, a couple of questions coming through. Adam wants to know this one. Jake, what are your thoughts on off-plan projects at the moment? Is it true 75% of transactions in September 2024 were off-plan?
Yeah, over 70% of transactions were off-plan transactions, so properties under construction. Again, I think it links to what we were saying before. There's grand plans by 2033 to really expand the real estate market, and this is why we need off-plan there to facilitate that. So it's extremely exciting times with amazing launches that are coming out very soon and in process.
Rajat's come in with, Jake, do you see prices of apartments going down or tapering any time soon in the next 2 to 3 quarters?
Personally, no. I can't see why they would with interest rates coming down. Again, the opportunity cost of renting being higher than owning a property. More people moving to Dubai than ever. Different regions moving to Dubai as well. I think Dubai is only going to go from strength to strength.
This is unfair. I hate to wrap things up on this one, but it's Adam's fault, okay? Adam's been in touch saying, Jake, do you think the industry is oversaturated with brokers?
Yes and no. I think the quality of broker, there's not that many. I think you can, to stand out in this market, if you do the basics very well, you'll go far in this market. I think there's a lot of brokers that aren't doing the basics very well. And again, I cite our open house event coming up. I've often had feedback from clients where we have viewed multiple properties at once that other agents aren't offering me this many properties. We turn out a property, they can't even access the property. For me, these are just very basic things that we always get right, but for other brokers maybe they're not doing that. So I think there is a lack of quality brokers across the wider market, but that being said, it is still a very competitive landscape, of course.
Appreciate your time. Appreciate you being so candid with us as well. Appreciate your answers. Those are the thoughts of Senior Client Manager, Gold Espas Real Estate, Jake Matthews-Hubbard.
This is The Business Breakfast with Richard Dean, Brandy Scott and Tom Urquhart.
On the UAE's #1 talk radio